Hey, I'm Alex, I'm an archaeologist. This is Archaeomoto, and today I will explain to you how the Romans got their water into their huge town. And for that we are going to the town of Nîmes and we are looking at the Pont du Gard. So we are still in the Provence region of France, and we are looking today at the Roman city of Nîmes, modern Nîmes. And about Nîmes there are some important and interesting facts, and one of it is that almost 50,000 inhabitants used to live in Nîmes, which was quite a lot for ancient times, and they needed water. And in order to bring fresh water, to always have a fresh water supply in their city, they had to build an aqueduct, bringing the water 50 kilometers from north, from the fountain in Uzès to the actual city. 50 kilometers of channeling. And in order to do so they had to cross several rivers, or more often the same river many times. And the Pont du Gard, at which we are now, is the biggest of these bridge structures. As you can see, this bridge is huge. It is wide 140 meters and has a height of well over 50 meters, which is quite impressive for building from the ancient times. And we just crossed one of the lower arches. There are actually 3 tiers of arches, and just the lower arches are already 22 meters in height, so higher than a lot of triumphal arches in Rome or whatever. Yeah, the need for fresh water supply in the city was so urgent that they underwent this monumental building of an aqueduct carrying the water from the source 50 kilometers south. Just for this bridge, an estimated amount of 1,000 workers had to build here for well over 3 years. The building technique here is opus quadratum, so almost quadratic stones in their shape, but then in length they're rectangular, of course. No mortar was used for that, so the construction was really that these arches, the different arches, are carrying all the weight, and they were built over a wooden construction and just laid down and cut it perfectly in size, very precisely, so that the weight still after 2000 years after its construction in the 1st century AD is still totally in place. And the bridge is going over the Gard river. this building technique is so precise that the actual grade of the flow, where the water flows, I forgot to say, the water flows only in one channel, just over the third tier of arches, just there in 50 meters of height from us. And it is precisely there because from the fountain at Urzès to the Roman city of Nîmes, there is only a height difference of 17 meters. So you had to be extraordinarily precise that the water would flow over those 50 kilometers. You always need like a small gradient going down. And from one side to the other, this bridge has a gradient of just 1 centimeter or so. Because over 50 kilometers they only had to overcome 17 meters of height difference. Yeah, so the water that was carried here over this river was about per day 40,000 cubic meters of water. So almost every inhabitant had 1 cubic meter for its use per day, which is quite a large amount even by modern measurements. But it was needed for the public thermal bath and all the water plays the rich people had in the city. Just above this bridge there was found by archaeologists also a small basin where the water could be regulated, which was really important as maybe rain or other circumstances brought more water than needed. The bridge had to be protected, so they just leveled the amount of water that was flowing through this aqueduct. And then again in Nîmes, we are going there just after that. There is another basin, the chateau, the so-called chateau, where all the water which is flowing through this bridge arrives at the city, and where it was then distributed throughout the city area to all those places where it was needed. Yeah, in order to arrive here and also then to go further to Roman Nîmes, there were several bridges of a similar construction technique but much smaller. And a lot of those bridges were needed to overcome the rocky and canyoning terrain here. If you look closer at the maronry they used, you can see at the second tier, also in the lowest one, the base tier, some blocks which are not in line and they are coming a bit out of the wall, and they were actually used for the construction of the bridge because they were holding wooden constructions where the workers could walk on and pass in all the stones. And they were possibly left in place just that in a case of a needed reparation or something, they could rebuild those wooden constructions to then make the adjustments. Yeah, this bridge was built, as I said, in the 1st century AD, but then it was in use for 300 years or so and was functioning properly. After that it was not cared by very well, so the water flew another 300 years into the 6th century, but it was not anymore that much water first because a lot of the calcar was building up in the actual channel, so there was not so much space for the water anymore. And then the water went also bad because the vegetation in different parts of the channel went into it, and so organic material was in the water, which is not that nice anymore. In the ancient times, in the working times, the water had perfect drinking quality, of course. Yeah, it's just a beautiful sight. It's lovely to look at. You can also take a swim here. If it would have been a bit warmer, I would have done this. But yeah, let's have a last look here at the sunset, and then let's head over to the Roman city of Nîmes. So I followed the Roman aqueduct from the Pont to Gard, another 30 kilometers to southwest, to the actual city of Nîmes, which is just laying underneath us. And here, just on top of the city, of a hill, here is the actual collector where the water from the aqueduct, which is crossing the Gard on the Pont to Gard, would arrive at the city, would be stored in a little basin and then distributed to all the parts in the city which were in need of water. And this distribution here happened through several round canals here, just on the ground level. One big canal going down there. And then just underneath us, on the level of the central canal here, there are also several lead pipes distributing the water with a higher pressure rate, which could then be used to either bring the water to levels which are a bit higher, or to fountains, where the water pressure would feed the fountains with sprinkling water. So from this Castellum Aquae, which is distributing the water into the city, I would say let's head into the city and let's check out what we find there. Let's go!